On the sweltering afternoon of August 22nd, 1972, three sharply dressed men entered a Chase Manhattan bank branch in Brooklyn. They hand the teller a note, plagiarized from the movie they watched earlier that day, and reveal their shotguns. What unfolds is an insane 14-hour standoff that captures the attention of all of New York City. No, this isn't a recap of the 1975 film Dog Day Afternoon. It's the real-life story of John Wojowicz's labor of love. But wait, hold on. If you've already seen the movie, don't go away, because our protagonist claims that this film tells only 30% of the story. So, a lot more to tell.
Welcome to Heist Club, where we've got a new heist story coming at you each week. We're here to uncover the details behind some of the most audacious and ridiculous robberies of all time. How they pulled it off, how they got caught, and the mysteries that remain. Bank heists, art heists, diamond heists, and other capers you won't believe. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Todd.
Welcome to the club.
Hey, Jesse, this is an exciting one. I know we've been looking forward to this one.
What's up? Are you ready to try your hardest to not talk about movies?
The whole time? This is really tempting us this week.
I know.
Because while we are heist buffs, we are also movie buffs.
I mean, even on any episode, I try to not talk about movies, so this is going to be even more difficult.
And one of the greatest movies ever made, too. So,
really, really good. But I guess we won't talk about it right now.
Whatever movie we're not talking about is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Exactly.
It's one of the greatest performances, but, you know,
it's a good performance. Okay.
It's quite performance. So let's just get into it then, because there's so much to tell and so much we want to say that we're not yet saying.
Right.
But, you know, here we are. This one. It's the summer of 1972. Incumbent President Richard Nixon, boo, is running for his second term as president. Boo.
Evil, bad, boo.
Not a lot of fans of Nixon. That's a pretty agreed upon point of view. Yep. So besides Nixon running for a second term, the world's preparing for the Munich Olympics, also very noteworthy. Rising inflation is hurting Americans' pockets, and the mafia runs the city of New York, which I think is not the case anymore, but maybe we just don't know. Yeah. Maybe we just are unawares.
I thought the 70s mafia was a different beast.
It was a different time. That's very true. They don't make as many movies. I'm going there. We don't make as many movies about the modern crime family.
Exactly, we don't. Yeah.
It's not exactly the same.
No.
But in this, let's meet John Wojtowicz, the 27-year-old son of a Polish father and an Italian mother. John was described by the Village Voice as a little crazy, pleasant, and spunky. But most importantly, John was a lover. I think, is that how we all want to be described? Maybe not a little crazy, but pleasant, spunky, and a lover.
Yeah, that's nice.
Not the worst words to have described by you. We have a picture of, can we say it's his mugshot? Because it always gives something away when we say there's a mugshot.
It's not necessarily his mugshot. It's just a side angle and a straight on angle, and he's holding a little sign that has all of his information.
Maybe that's just how they did it in the Sears catalog those days.
There you go, exactly.
Hey, John, can you put this little tag around your neck? That way we know who it's from. Yeah,
that's how you took a selfie in the 70s.
He's definitely got like a smug look, though. There's a smugness to this.
He's
it's
smug.
Sure,
he's a smug
take
dude,
my picture,
sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He's not.
No, that's spunk.
That's spunk?
Yeah, that's pleasant, loving spunk.
It's funny. To a degree, I thought of spunky as being like a little higher in energy, but I guess it doesn't have to be, right? Spunk is just like, there's attitude. But you'd be pleasant and also spunky? Maybe those words don't actually go together then. Village Voice, letter to the editor, 1972. Right. But, okay. In the mid-'60s, he met Carmen Bifulco at their job in a bank, of all places, which will make sense later. And on their first date, he asked, "Why don't you be my lucky bride of the future?" Which is quite a line on a first date and something that did not scare her off, apparently. Maybe that's what she was looking for. Maybe it was a different time also for that. It's like you want someone to be asking you to take their hand or to take your hand on your first date.
What a weird thing to say to a stranger, essentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess they met at the job, but then it was their first date. So maybe they knew each other a little.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
but not in a date setting. So a hopeless romantic, if you would, which actually is probably pretty appropriate for what he goes down when it ends up happening. But yeah, that didn't scare her off. But they couldn't be together for long as he got drafted to Vietnam. 1972, Vietnam War is still going on. This is the mid-60s. This is more the early days of the war, but still going on at the time of the heist as well. But his future in-laws thought him getting drafted to Vietnam was a blessing because I guess this is basically a direct quote. They hoped perhaps he wouldn't make it home, which is
a
very
valid
dark.
and dark idea.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't like him. It's like, oh, I know the one way to get rid of our potential future son-in-law. Let's hope he gets killed in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Oof. A lot of people did. But they were also right in not trusting him since while away at war, he apparently began cheating on Carmen immediately with men. And again, no shame for bisexuality, but cheating. We're not fans of cheating on the Heist Club.
Not cool, John.
Come on, John. Glad you found your ways and discovered yourself, but you need to be more honest with Carmen.
Exactly.
Which did actually not happen when he returned, because he returned in 1967, alive. Sorry, in-laws. And John and Carmen got married and then had 2 children. They did not have those children in 1967. They got married in 67 and had the children sometime after. But marital bliss was short-lived. When Carmen found out about his many affairs, they separated in 1969. So it's a short marriage, that 2 kids, but only lasted 2 years. But I guess John's mother, who he's very close with, as we will hear throughout this podcast, excuses his crazy behavior by blaming the military. You can blame the military in the Vietnam War for a lot of changes and behavioral changes. I don't know if this is one you could actually blame on the military, though. But John took the separation in stride. He joined the Gay Activist Alliance, or the GAA, and he adopted the pseudonym Little John Basso. Basso was actually his mother's maiden name. But he wasn't really about the activism. He didn't join for that. He just wanted to pick up guys, and this is a good place to meet guys. He was actually a self-described pervert and a bit of a floozy, if you would. If you catch my drift, Jesse.
I think I pick up what you're putting down. I understand.
Got it. Okay, guys, great. I was a little subtle about it. But actually, some members of the GA actually called him a disgrace. Apparently, during a dance at the headquarters, he and another man apparently left a mattress unsalvageable after their activities, in quotes. It was so bad that the group debated revoking his membership. So he stood out. He stood out at a party and beyond. Yes.
But in June of 1971, John's life would change again after a chance meeting. At the Italian festival, the Feast of San Gennaro, John meets trans woman Elizabeth Eden, sometimes referred to as Ernest Aaron by news outlets at the time, totally dead naming her. It was apparently love at first sight for John. They got married that December in a $2,000 mock Catholic ceremony. Elizabeth was Jewish. It was even filmed and featured on the Walter Cronkite news show to many eye rolls from the GAA.
And we have a picture from the wedding. It does look like Elizabeth is maybe a foot taller than John, or at least 6 inches. Like, there is definitely a height difference.
Yeah, someone is very short, someone's very tall in this photo.
Yep. And he's wearing his military uniform too, which he's got a lot of medals. Looks like maybe he did well over there, whatever that means, did well. I'm not sure.
I mean, he came back and, still had a life. I mean, people that come back and survived, like, their lives were ruined a lot of the time. So that's kind of, almost impressive.
That alone deserves some medals. That's right. It's true.
Yeah, you're not insane. Elizabeth's friends were not fans of John, though. One called him skeevy and pretty stupid. Different than what the Village Voice thought of him.
yeah. Another word for spunky.
Skeevy and stupid. John frequently said Elizabeth loved him only half as much as he loved her. Their marriage was rocky from the start. Elizabeth often brought up that she wanted gender-affirming surgery, but John was against this. He was worried he would no longer be attracted to her. But Elizabeth was always in great distress because of needing the surgery, and her mental health suffered. They tried living together, but John's tendencies toward violence started driving Elizabeth away. But still, they stayed together.
I will say, tendency towards violence, it feels like we're being polite almost, he definitely sounds more like the guy that Elizabeth's friends are describing and not the Village Voice one,
Right.
If he's being violent towards Elizabeth, then yeah. I mean, to go to the movie, he's definitely an anti-hero in the movie and anti-hero in real life, but this is highly anti-hero behavior. You are no hero, John.
I mean, yeah, pleasant and spunky to me could easily translate it as like a smiling bullshitter schemer,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then behind doors, he's who he really is, which is
right.
tendencies towards violence.
Yeah, which does describe a lot of people who are in Vietnam, though, too. So, but again, who are we to know what was tied to what? But yeah.
But still, they stayed together. Then one fateful afternoon on August 20th, 1972, after yet another argument about her desire for a gender-affirming operation, Elizabeth overdoses on sleeping pills. She is taken to Kings County Hospital and barely survives the attempt. Authorities place her on a psychiatric hold. John can't bear losing his sweetheart. He needs to fund her surgery now. But he's flat broke. What is he going to do? Rob a bank, obviously.
No other options. No other
options. We got to get this surgery done. John is a former teller, so his insider knowledge has to help him, right? Why such a drastic move? John has recently learned he had intestinal polyps that may be cancerous. Remember, he's only 27 years old. If he's going to die young, at least he's going to go out in style. So I guess he just had little to live for.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like he's just looking for an excuse to rob a bank at this point. It's like, I mean, yes, Elizabeth did just attempt suicide and she's in a psychiatric hospital, but like, and that's, so yes, I must get her money, for the surgery so her mental health can improve. But also, I might have cancer. And also, the world's coming to an end. Why not? I need to rob a bank, Just looking for a reason.
I think it's interesting that he didn't drink or do drugs because this idea seems like a drug-riddled, just seems like, oh yeah, let's do this. It seems like an idea after a night of binging.
I don't think it's just his personality. This is just where he goes with things, Yeah.
As a first-time bank robber, he needs some buddies for support. He recruits 19-year-old Sal Naturale as the muscle and 20-year-old Bobby Westenberg as the getaway driver. He knows them from the Greenwich Village bar scene. Yes. We see a photo of Sal. He looks mean.
He looks young. He looks serious. He actually does not look very much like the actor from the movie. I would say very, very, who also looks older. Right. But they just they have different face types, different hair. Not very similar.
Right.
I don't see a picture. I don't think we found a picture of Bobby. Maybe we could have looked harder.
Bobby's a little skittish, but a $50,000 promise from John is enough to get some courage. John racks up $1,500 on his Bank America card for the guns. Also, in first-time bank robber fashion, the trio make plans the night before the robbery.
You say in jest, because we've definitely covered other first-time robberies before, and we've seen months of planning. They literally go to a hotel in New Jersey the night before to start planning this thing.
I think it's crazy that he's not on meth or coke.
Right. You would totally expect that, right? That is, in not to reference Dog Day Afternoon, but in other movies, there are plenty of times where someone's like, I need my fix, and they're high, and all of a sudden they just go and rob something last second, Yeah,
so late night scheming. Come on.
Yeah. Late night, you're not sleeping, you're just doing lots of drugs, you have a great, crazy idea, and...
Yeah, but they're treating it like a last-minute weekend trip,
Yep.
They hunker down in a New Jersey motel called the Golden Nugget. While there, Skeevy John makes a pass at Bobby and justifies it because Bobby's getting paid $50K. Old habits die hard, I guess. But John claims he was successful. In the documentary called The Dog, which features interviews with John, he says, quote, I grabbed a hold of Bobby Westenberg and I wanted to him because he used to dress up as a girl. He goes, I don't want you me. I said, I'm giving you $50K and you're going to tell me I'm not getting out of it? So then I him. That will be fun to bleep later. Anyway, but besides his sexual coercion, they actually talk about how they think the heist will go. They promise each other that innocent bystanders won't get hurt. And theoretically, after they get the money, their next stop is to swing by Kings County Hospital and free Elizabeth Eden. And then they'll all ride off into the sunset together. It doesn't sound like a very
perfect
thought
plan.
out plan.
They didn't miss a thing. This is like, fine tooth comb, have everything down. I'm all it takes is one night, I guess. Silly us.
I mean, there's a detail I think is insane that we're about to get to.
Yes. They wake up the next morning, and now it's time for the heist. They dress for success. So they did plan their outfits. John dons a black iridescent sharkskin suit with a red and black tie. Woo! That is 1972 style up the wazoo. And Sal's got a gray pinstripe suit with a handkerchief in the pocket, which feels a little mafioso to me, but who am I? Maybe it's also just 1972, actually. So apparently John spent a pretty penny on the outfits. I don't know how much that is, given that he needed money for the surgery and didn't have it. But they also wore matching mirror sunglasses for the getaway, or the planned getaway, if you would.
Did they just need it? Do they just need like a costume? I think they just wanted to dress nice.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that necessary. Usually it's ski masks or whatever, but they didn't even wear masks. They just like, let's look fancy while we do this.
Yeah, they're stylish individuals. They're dressing up for a big day at work.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess John considered fake mustaches, but thought that was too theatrical.
That would be silly. It would take away from
which is
how
correct,
cool
except
looking.
it actually might have disguised them a little, but nothing else did that.
I think they just wanted to look cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously, we'll get to it. The cops figure out who they are quickly, but if they didn't, they'd be like, oh, he was wearing a black iridescent sharkskin suit. It's like, okay, how many suit places sell that? I'm sure we can find out pretty quickly. Oh, yeah, I sold one of those in the last 6 months. There was a guy named John. He lives around the corner.
Sharkskin suit was a thing. That's insane.
Yeah.
Now I should have worn one for this recording.
Yes. Next time.
Yeah.
But so they did not do the fake mustaches, but they definitely went out in style. So they have the outfits, they have the guns, they have the plan, sort of, because what are they forgetting as part of the plan? The bank. In all that playing the night before, they actually have not decided what bank they're going to knock off, which feels like a big piece of the puzzle here when it's the day of the robbery.
You think that's what they were talking about the night before, but apparently not.
Yeah. He was just trying to get Bobby to have sex with him. Yeah,
exactly.
Distracted.
So we're gonna rob a bank.
Hey, should we figure out what bank? No, Bobby. Just come into this room.
We'll just know when we're there.
Yeah.
We'll feel it.
Yeah, we got this. So they actually cruise around New York City. Well, cruise, not the gay version of cruising.
That's a different Al Pacino movie.
That was yeah. But they're venturing around New York City, looking for the perfect target. Can you imagine just choosing the bank you're going to rob at random? I mean, this feels like lunacy. But they do lock in on one. Bobby parks just outside. They step out and bang. One of them fumbled their shotgun and it went off accidentally when it hit the concrete. So they're embarrassed, they're flustered, and they immediately flee the scene. So maybe that was a good bank to rob, maybe it wasn't, but they already messed that one up.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I'm guessing the bolt didn't hit anyone. I'm guessing no one heard it. They were able to, or if people heard it, they got in the car fast enough, and Bobby did his job of driving away from that scene. But, as we know, nobody's perfect on their first go-around. So they find a second bank a little later. They did not drop a gun this time, I'm happy to report. They enter the bank, their weapons concealed with brown paper. They approach the teller and prepare to pull their guns, but a woman suddenly interrupts them. She's actually a friend of Bobby's mother, and she wanted to see how her friend's son was doing. Very sweet woman. But now they can't rob a bank with her in it. They'll never hear the end of it. They also would, the woman would probably tell the cops who did it.
I just think it's crazy that you think they would go home after 2. You think I would go home after 1? Like, oh, well, we can't do it today. My gun just went off. I have to go hide.
Jesse, you're forgetting. They're spunky. John is spunky,
right.
And that means he's determined. Apparently, that's one of the things spunky can mean. But they're not giving up just yet. They head to another bank for another try. Now, do you think the third time's the charm? I can't hear you because this is a podcast, but we'll find out after the break.
We'll find out.
Okay, welcome back, Heist Clubbers. Welcome to the clubhouse. Our daring trio, John, Sal, and Bobby, have tried unsuccessfully to rob 2 different banks so far. Guess that's what happens when you don't really plan anything. So now they're trying a third bank. And to avoid a colossal failure this time, they practice a dry run of the getaway. I'm not sure that's the exact problem so far, but they're at least learning to practice. That's good. They're at least learning something.
They're doing this now?
Yeah. Yes. Again, it's all, yeah.
Let's try driving around. Yeah.
Figuring it out on the fly. But But this time, Bobby actually crashes the car. So to answer my question from before, nope, third time is not the charm. They failed again.
I guess it's a pretty vigorous practice if he crashes the car practicing.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
I will say it's funny that the movie Dog Day Afternoon left this out, but maybe because it wasn't like a screwball comedy, because this just feels like, okay, this is like over the top British humor antics. We won't be able to take these people seriously at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that they left that out, but it also does make sense because it is good in this. It's a great story. It's insane that they did this, but yes. I think starting with a bunch of false starts would be a weird way to start a movie.
Such a weird way instead of just which is the way they do start it, which is just right into it, which I love.
Yeah,
So they're pretty embarrassed after drawing a small crowd from the car crash. They drive away in shame. 3 strikes, time to regroup. Maybe they should have grouped up in the first place. They never really did group to now regroup.
Yeah.
But apparently, to decompress, they go to a movie theater in Times Square and they watch The Godfather, which is pretty prescient given who ends up playing John in the movie later.
I know.
And actually also who plays Sal, too, actually also in The Godfather.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I know. But a great hype movie if you want to commit a crime, which actually is pretty true. I mean, it's not Scarface. Yeah. I mean, actually, Scarface also Al Pacino. But I think more criminals now watch Scarface than Godfather when they're amping themselves up to, try to rob a bank 3 times.
Yeah, well, they're doing. Well, they didn't do drugs, so that makes sense why they didn't watch Scarface. And,
yeah.
All right, here we go. Just before 3 p.m., August 22nd, 1972. And it's a scorching 97 degrees.
I just want to point out it's 3 p.m. So they've attempted to rob 3 banks and they've seen a 3-hour movie.
I know.
And now it's 3 p.m. and they're like, okay, now it's time to find out where we actually should go. So I mean, they woke up early. They definitely started early in the day.
I would not be able to focus on The Godfather if I knew I was about to rob a bank that day.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
Though the timeline has changed, the plan has not. John's determined to get that surgery money. So Bobby, Sal, and John pull up to Chase Manhattan Bank in Gravesend, Brooklyn. It's just before closing, so they'll wait until the bank is clear of customers. No running into mother's friends this time around. John, Sal, and Bobby enter the bank with their stylish outfits and brown paper wrapped shotguns. John walks up to one of the bank tellers and hands them a note that reads, "This is an offer you can't refuse." Cheesy Godfather-inspired note. The employees stay relatively cool, while almost everyone, the bank security guard, who is apparently a 6-foot-tall black belt, groveled on his knees for his life. John keeps the employees under control while Sal and Bobby check out the vault. Terrible news. The money delivery already happened at 11 a.m., and the money was slowly distributed to the customers throughout the day, so there's not much left. So that's pretty depressing. They should have started with that one.
I mean, I guess he was a bank teller, so he knows a lot of the ins and outs of how banks run, but doesn't necessarily mean every bank runs the same way, right? I mean, also, maybe he did know that. That's why he was trying to rob banks at 7 or 8 in the morning when they opened and was unsuccessful. And now here he is at 3 p.m. And
But no, they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait till the next day. They're just like, let's just keep it going. The surgery has to happen.
We have the suits on. We're dressed for success.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they're planning on returning the suit or something.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah. And then Bobby quickly freaks out. He says he can't do it, and he hightails it out of there, and they just let him go. Very funny way to start the movie. Just immediately someone chickens out.
But yeah, John's no quitter. You know, he's not going to leave empty-handed. Also, doesn't have to worry about giving $50,000 to Bobby anymore. Not that there's even $50,000 there, because him and Sal take what the bank has on hand, which is, I guess, around $29,000, which is around $221,000 in today's money. But still, the cops getting tipped off. John uses his teller knowledge to answer the phones. In an interview John did with the Village Voice, who paid compliments to his personality. Right. John said, "Since I used to be a teller, when the phone rang, I answered it and gave them what they wanted. You know, credit information, balances, the real thing. I okayed a loan I shouldn't have, though. Someone with a long Polak name, one of my people," he's Polish, "one of my people, and the manager hollered at me." So, I mean, this does speak to John. We know how he's about to act outside the bank. You know, he relishes performance, theatricality. So even before that, here he is answering phones, doling out loans, You
I
know,
love that he's giving out loans.
enjoying the thrill of it all.
Why
What
did he
is
even
Sal
pick up the
thinking?
phone? That's so funny.
I mean, Sal must be like, who is this? What am I? I don't know.
I know.
They're Greenwich Village buddies.
With that handled, they head out for the door. But hey, those sirens are a bit loud, aren't they? Turns out they didn't have much control of the staff, and one managed to raise the alarm. Cops quickly have the place surrounded. John and Sal are trapped, so they pull the next best move, hold everyone hostage inside. Hostage situation, 6 women and 2 men. More police arrive and the FBI takes over shortly after. They take over a nearby Palestinian barbershop as their headquarters. A mob of onlookers flood the block. John realizes he's got a captive audience and he's going to put on a show. The crowd cheered and hollered behind the rickety police barriers. Journalists called it, quote, a circus. So it quickly got pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah.
It's just a whole scene happens pretty quickly.
I mean, the movie does a good job of, to reference it here, of like that moment of realizing what are we going to do? Like they hoped this would be a quick in and out, you know, they weren't planning on this taking long. They thought it'd be quick, but all of a sudden they're now surrounded. They have to take the hostages and they don't know what comes next. But it is true. Like, I mean, the crowd gathers and he makes a show of it.
Yeah. John gives live phone interviews to journalists because they just called the bank number.
Sure.
So he's just pivoting. He's just pivoting a lot that day. He's just going with it. He is in a flow state. Like, gun goes off, doesn't matter. Bobby leaves, doesn't matter. Now there's an audience. Let's do a phone interview.
Yeah. Well, we know John has always been about John, right? He's definitely selfish that way, whether it's cheating on partners or joining a activist organization just so he can pick up guys. Like, he doesn't care about everything else. So this speaks to John.
And he just assumes that everything is going to work out, I guess. I wish I had that kind of ignorance, confidence. The resulting broadcasts are an absurdist melodrama. It was nonstop from start to finish in New Yorkers' homes. It even beat out Richard Nixon's acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention. John was convinced the cops were not going to let him get out of this alive. He also thought that Nixon wanted him dead because he was stealing his airtime, which is pretty funny. Yeah. You can see how, like, narcissistic, I guess, he is. You know, I don't know what it is. So, you know, the thoughts of a perfectly rational human being in a totally calm circumstance.
Totally calm, totally rational. Yeah. Like the thoughts of a guy who would plan a bank robbery the night before over the course of a matter of hours and forget to pick a bank. Yes.
I know. And then the FBI also pulled the first move, cutting the air conditioning. So the bank quickly rises to 97, I'm assuming. Which is...
Or warmer even, maybe.
Warmer even, maybe. John's mother arrives at the scene. It's just a circus. It's just insane.
It is.
John's mother arrives at the scene, screaming for her son, but she's not the woman that John wants to see. John and Sal need to take some control of the situation, so they craft a list of demands. They're just going full movie mode, which is...
If we're in this situation, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. They want hamburgers and Cokes for them and the hostages. They want transportation to the Kennedy Airport, where a private plane will be ready for them and the hostages. They told the FBI that they would take off and land sporadically, releasing 2 hostages at a time. Then they would fly to an undisclosed location. Sounds
really
like a really
also not planned out before.
Plan.
Yes. This is how John likes to live. You know, fly by the seat of his pants.
I just can't believe it's real. It's so crazy that it seems like they should make a movie out of it.
Good idea.
He wants to get Elizabeth released from the hospital and brought inside the bank in exchange for 1 hostage. John says, quote, I want them to deliver my wife here from Kings County Hospital. His name is Ernest Aaron. It's a guy. I'm gay. I guess, you know, if you want your wife to be in there, you need some communication. So he's like, hey, this is what's going on. Go get my wife.
Yeah. Quite a reveal, too. You know, I know news reports were then pretty quick to add that gay people were robbing a bank, which made people were already on the edge of their seat because they had cameras there capturing it live and it happened. But that's a quick,
that definitely makes it more interesting, almost a twist. Sal, who's straight, was a little miffed. of scene that I love in the movie, but I'm not gay.
Yes.
It's so funny. He was just really mad. John reportedly said, "We've got guns and rifles and bombs, and I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to get out of here alive," said the village voice. The trusty village voice.
So, but even though Sal and John had the guns, apparently the hostages were pretty sympathetic to John's cause and were instrumental in keeping him calm. One of the bank employees, Shirley Ball, said, "I realized that he was friendly. He wanted to be friendly. He had a purpose for robbing the bank. He didn't think it would take that long." That all seems accurate. Friendly. I guess he was friendly to them. We've seen both sides of his personality, that's for sure.
Right.
But the crowd definitely loved him as well. They thought of him as like a real life Robin Hood of sorts, robbing a bank for the love of his life. And anything John did was a crowd pleaser. This was not in the movie, but a cop called John a gay slur. He apparently exited the bank, threatened the cop, and the crowd went wild. And one of John's former lovers, also not in the movie, one of John's former lovers was in attendance just outside. John noticed him, called him to the door where they kissed in front of the cheering crowd. So I love that he's like a Robin Hood of sorts, stealing for his wife, and here he is just kissing this random guy, Like he contains multitudes. He's a complicated fella.
He really is, yeah.
Yeah. But I do think that theme of him versus the system is very true in a lot of the ways that this story is told in the movie, and then in a lot of the stuff that we read about the actual heist too.
Yeah, so much so that I feel like they left out a lot of the, against the system stuff that happened in real life. They left it out of the movie, like what you just said.
Yeah, it's true. But you feel it. You still feel it, even if they didn't tell you everything.
Right.
But the FBI was not doing a good job of holding up their end of the bargain, apparently. They got Elizabeth from the hospital and tried their best to convince her to enter the bank, but she refused because she was terrified of John, which is sad. And then, of course, John didn't believe it was Elizabeth who was resisting because she was afraid. He thought it was the FBI just keeping her from him. And so, disheveled and a little out of it, she was ushered to the Palestinian barbershop. And then John flip-flops between resenting the FBI and Elizabeth herself, not knowing. He was angry, and apparently he said, "What I'm doing for her, and the silly won't even come in here and talk to me." Love of my life.
I know, right?
Yeah. Also, speaking of the FBI not doing their job, no hamburgers.
What?
The FBI brought pizza instead, which John didn't like, but he paid for the food himself anyway, tossing wads of cash to the delivery driver. I love that in the movie. It's a fun moment in the movie too.
Yeah.
And then the crowd loved his sense of flair, of course, and the money getting tossed their way, he's just throwing it at them. And the news of free money, the crowd surged to about 2,000, I guess. And now in John's head, which actually I think makes sense, they're definitely not going to follow through with the plane demand. He's just thinking like, they're not doing, come on, if they can't get me burgers, they're getting me pizza instead, they're really going to get me a bus to the airport and a plane. So he is feeling like they're not going to hold up their side of the bargain, as we said.
Well, it's an insane request. So
it is.
At least he knows that it's a little insane and irrational and not believable that they'll actually do it.
Yeah, because it's hard to believe they could pull it off. That's a lot to ask. Yeah. So, but apparently, John cooked up a new negotiation tactic, which was offering hostages in exchange for the press, in exchange for more press. John later explained, quote, "The more publicity we got, the safer we were. We knew they were coming in to blow us away, but they wouldn't if we had reporters inside. They wouldn't dare." Which definitely speaks to him answering the phone and speaking to reporters when they called, going outside, making a scene. He feels like the more people are aware of me, the less they'd be able to just shoot me dead. Right. Yeah. So makes sense.
Pretty good idea.
By the way, do we think that the barbershop was still open? Were they taking in customers while all this is going on, or they had to close for the day?
I'm assuming there wasn't enough room for a haircut, and someone wouldn't want to get their haircut next to 20 cops doing their job.
Yeah. Pretty disappointing. You show up just trying to get to your haircut. You're like, what are all these people doing here? And you can't get in.
I know.
And you show up to a job interview with long hair and you don't get the job, all because of John's selfishness. Yeah.
Well, at the barbershop, at least they had a whole party essentially to go to watch this crazy thing play out.
Well, that's true. And then I guess at around 10 p.m., a Village Voice reporter named Arthur Bell, who was no relation to Shirley Bell, who's inside, gets an interesting message. The message said, "Just heard a couple of homosexuals are holding up a bank in Brooklyn, and they're holding people hostage. Thought you'd be interested. Bye." Don't know who left that message, but so he calls the bank and he couldn't believe it. But little John from, Little John from the GAA answers. And as a journalist covering the burgeoning gay rights movement, Stonewall was 3 years before, Arthur was familiar with Little John or John's antics. I mean, and we heard about his antics earlier. They were quite the antics. Right. But John is grateful to hear a familiar voice. He asked Arthur to come down and be the mediator between him, Sal, and the FBI. John offers to throw a few $100 bills out the window for his trouble. Not his money anyway, right?
Well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the teller, Shirley Bell, gets on the phone to call her husband and seems a little less charitable to John this time around. She says, it's a shame that nothing's been done, and the FBI are sacrificing 7 lives for 2. They're backing John against a wall, and I don't know how long our luck is going to hold out. So maybe he's not as friendly as they thought. But I guess she did give John credit for allowing her to call her husband. And in the movie, you see that too. He lets the tellers call their family and call people. So they had that in there as well.
And then at 11:15, two officers whisk Arthur down to Brooklyn. However, when he arrives, the FBI rejects his services. So he too heads into the Palestinian barbershop with the rest of the rejects.
Quite a party, like you said.
I know, it's getting pretty crowded in the barbershop as well. He catches Elizabeth up to speed on the situation, and she seems to be ignorant of one crucial detail. This whole thing was for her. She breaks down and demands to enter the bank, but the FBI deny her request.
Which seems silly of the FBI. I mean, I guess they're trying to control the situation, but in general, he has said, "I will release a hostage when Elizabeth is here." So I don't know. I feel like, wouldn't you rather get a hostage out? That's good for you. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought would happen.
Yeah, I know.
She wants to at least call the bank, but she can't because by now the FBI have cut the phone lines. It seems like the FBI have their own side plot going on.
Clearly, yeah.
And then a few hours later at 2 a.m., the FBI promises that he, Sal, and Elizabeth will get safe passage to Europe via a private plane. So yeah, it's still going, and they're actually, they're saying that they're going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to do it. I mean, John's probably a little bit in shock, but he's going to believe them, right? He has no other option. He needs this to go well.
Yeah. And then at 3 a.m., 12 hours since they've been in there, everyone is sweaty and sleep deprived and cranky. And Sal is extra irritable and believes someone is trying to break through the back. He fires a shot, which luckily only hits the floor. The bank manager says, "We all jumped 10 feet. So John announced to us, I've had to take a for 3 days, and I think this thing drove it up further."
It's a good line.
Yeah.
I guess.
It is funny. The police, in an attempt to calm them, tell the crowd that it was just a prankster's firecracker. Sure. And then
that to me is interesting, because it's like, I assume the police and FBI don't want the crowd on John's side, right? So if you say John just fired that bullet, he means business. He's not this hero you think he is. Maybe someone would leave, or maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it's also 3 a.m. These people have been out this long. They're not leaving now.
That's true. You think they would want them to go away and not just calm them down.
Right? Yeah, they can control the situation a lot more if this huge crowd isn't there.
Yeah, but maybe, saying that a shot went off maybe send more panic. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know that is absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. And then even later, 3:50, the plane is ready and the limo is here. John emerges from the door with his gun strapped around his shoulder. He grins and points to the police's guns and says, "I want them all down on the ground, please." I love that he's making that kind of ballsy demands. Good scene in the movie. He briefly speaks to U.S. Attorney Robert A. Morse and struts back into the bank. And in a single formation, the hostages, John and Sal, approach the limo. Elizabeth joins them. A man disrupts the crowd trying to push through the barriers. "Who are you?" asked a cop. "I want to see if my wife goes in the car." "I'm sorry, you'll have to step back." "But she's my wife." So someone's there just trying to find his wife. I feel bad for him. John leaves one hostage out of the limo as a part of the trade for FBI holding their end of the deal.
See, John's holding up his side. Yep.
Yeah, he's being pretty civil. considering everything.
Considering everything else, yeah. Good point. Civil for John, yes.
Yeah. And then once the limo peels away, pandemonium erupts and the crowd rushes the bank. Because, free money and, yeah. Dozens of officers manage to stave off the crowd, and the fingerprint squad makes it inside. Do our robbers get in the plane and make their escape? I don't know. Find out after the break.
Welcome back. John successfully negotiated his exit from the bank. Now he, Sal, Elizabeth, and their hostages head to JFK Airport. It's actually happening. Meanwhile, the limo driver hauling the fugitives and their hostages leads a caravan of dozens of police cars to JFK as promised, and they arrive just before 5 a.m. He drives them down the tarmac where a private jet is waiting. The private jet is actually there. Again, John is feeling this is actually happening. Again, to speak to the movie, it's a powerful moment when he looks to Sal and says, "Look, we're almost there." It's like it feels real. But what Sal and John don't know is that the driver is actually an FBI agent, and Sal exits the car first, eager to make his escape, but he's killed with a single shot. John immediately surrenders, and it's over that quickly. The 7 remaining hostages are unharmed, and after 14 hours, the whole ordeal is finally over. So a lot of buildup, and they feel it's real, but the FBI's plan did work. Unfortunately for Sal, at end of his life, which is, I feel sad, right? Anyone dying is not something to champion. We know a lot more about John than we do Sal, though. But Sal clearly was nervous throughout all this. I know.
People, people go on to think, John is Robin Hood and then he got his friend killed, just from a stupid idea. And people seem to gloss over that sometime if they're on John's side.
Yeah. And Sal was only 19. He was super young, you know. He was just kind of roped into this for the money. I guess smart of Bobby to run out, right? Otherwise, Bobby could have been killed too.
Right.
So Bobby did the right thing there. But Sal, it's a pretty sad ending. While John got all the glory, and he was outside, and he was doing the press, and he gets the movie that's focused more on him than Sal, etc. So in the next few days, Bobby, who I mentioned, does turn himself into the police, and the GAA, that's the Gay Activist Alliance we mentioned earlier, they hold a meeting to discuss if they should support John, which would have already been a contentious debate even before the bank robbery, as we know. So Village Voice reporter Arthur Bell is in attendance, and so is a local bartender and Sal's best friend named Gary, who plans on making a ruckus at the meeting. Gary shouts about how the truth will eventually come out and Sal's death will not be in vain. What is he alluding to? Good question. Curiosity gets the best of Arthur, and he actually approaches Gary outside the meeting and asks him what he meant. Now, this is a crazy theory that I had not heard before researching this episode, but Sal's friend Gary then spills a wild tale, not of love, but of a conspiracy theory that's controlled New York City for decades, which is the mafia. So, believe it or not, maybe you're likely to believe it, in the 60s and 70s, the mafia had a monopoly over New York's gay scene. The mob took advantage of the fact that gay activity was still very much illegal in New York. Although it's the mafia, they don't care if it's illegal or not illegal or legal. They just want a piece of it. But that gay clientele were eager for places to drink and dance together, so the mafia filled that need, and they ran their establishments far below standard. So one of these bars was called Danny's, owned by this guy named Mike Umbers, the self-named emperor of Christopher Street. It's pretty good self-name.
It is a good name.
But also an associate to the notorious Gambino crime family. So Gary's theory went like this. One of the patrons of Danny's was an executive of Chase Manhattan Bank, and he let spill about a money delivery. The Gambino family is more than familiar with the bank, robbing one of their armored trucks a few years prior. So they recruit our trio for what would be seemingly an easy job. How does John know the mafioso, Mike Umbers, you may ask? Well, as mentioned before, Mike runs businesses in the gay scene in New York City, but the GAA hated him, accusing him of exploiting them for profit. John didn't see it that way, and in a protest the GAA held against Mike, John stood with a sign that read, "Mike is good." Not the most creative sign, John. But that shows a alliance between the two, according to Gary. But then also according to Gary, John didn't purchase the gun. It was a gift from Mike. And when it arrived on August 20th, Elizabeth realized his plan, and that was actually the motive of her suicide attempt. This is testing believability. to me a little
I
bit.
agree. I don't believe
Right?
it.
It's like, no, don't do it. I'll kill myself. I don't. It's
Yeah.
much. I don't know. But this is the theory that Gary gave to Arthur. And on August 21st, according to Gary, mafioso Mike conveniently surrenders to police for an obscenity charge. Maybe he was trying to avoid being connected to a future robbery. And so we'll point out there's this author who's also an activist and archivist named Randy Wicker. He called these claims bogus because John is, quote, crazy. And he means, nobody, no criminal organization would have ever got involved with him. I'm not sure that's the reason I find it all unbelievable, because I think there's plenty of crazy people in the mafia. But, I guess he pointed out that the Gambino family and that no other crime syndicate has claimed responsibility. And
Right.
do they claim responsibility? They're not like a terrorist organization who claims responsibility, but I don't know. This feels like a wild theory, which is interesting to think about just because of the 60s and 70s and the fact the mafia was so involved in the scene.
Right.
And I remember that, I don't know if you watched The Deuce on HBO, but that was part of the story there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is actually a good show.
Okay, nice.
But again, this is all the story. This is all the story that Sal's friend Gary is telling Arthur Bell from The Village Voice. But he's adamant, saying, quote, because after Sal's death, it hit me that Umbers and the Gambino people were using young kids without giving a about life or death to rake up money and power. I do believe that they would just, these people, they're expendable. Who cares?
Oh, for sure. I'm sure they've done stuff like this.
Yeah. But, perhaps Gary just wanted to smear Umbers, or the mafia's code of silence runs deep, but that was another theory. But okay, no matter how unlikely that tale might be, the mere mention of the mob sends the GAA running for the hills. They don't back John up. And without any support, John pleads guilty and is sentenced to 20 years in prison. I guess even if the GA had supported him, it wasn't going to go well for him anyway. And Bobby also, by the way, got a 2-year prison sentence for his participation or lack thereof. He didn't really do a lot, but he did enough. He had the shotgun. Right. He drove them there. That counts.
Yeah. Accomplice.
Yeah. Yep.
And then in 1973, John sells the film rights to his story for $7,500. With inflation, that'd be just over $54,000 today.
Not a lot, basically. It does not sound like a lot. Yeah.
No. John's lawyer, Mark Landsman, retained $3,500, almost half, as a part of his attorney fee. So even less.
Why rob a bank when you could be a lawyer?
For real. But then Elizabeth, John's love, gets the rest of the money for her surgery. So John got the money from the movie, which is crazy.
Happy ending for Elizabeth, at least.
Yeah, I'm glad he followed through. And
not in the way that John had intended, but she got the money.
Yeah. Post-op, after she recovers, Elizabeth tells John she never wants to see him again. She's like, thanks for the money. Now get away, you toxic. Maybe not. But broken-hearted, John slits his wrist, but he survives. He's just so in love and obsessed and will do anything for her, apparently. Yeah. And it seems like he cares a lot more about her, like we said earlier. When Elizabeth was asked why she broke up with him, she said, never did love him. Must have told him 1,000 times. So I guess I don't know. It sounds like he was just a little obsessed. She was like, leave me alone.
Just not listening.
Leave me alone, but I will take that money.
Yeah. Which is maybe another reason, I guess we maybe said this, but it's another reason he wanted to, not only for her mental health and for her actual health and her happiness, but like it was a grand gesture, right? It was a, look how much I love you, in the hopes that she would love him back, right? I robbed a bank for you. I got this money for you. I have proven my love. And she got what she wanted in the end, but she still did not love him back.
And then in 1975, Dog Day Afternoon premieres. John has a film screened in prison. The warden objected at first, fearing for John's safety. But I feel like John really already wasn't safe. I was watching the documentary, and it talked about how they hated him because they were homophobic and jealous, about how they had a movie about him, and so
double whammy,
as they call it. That's the street term, I think.
Let's say it, yeah. But in my time in prison, that's what that was called, double whammy.
Double whammy. Yeah. But then John threw a fit when they said they weren't going to show the movie. He said, "If you don't show this in the prison, I'll go to the press and hang you by your cannolis. And I'll start the biggest prison riot you've ever saw. I want the movie shown. I want it shown to the inmates. because I had promised him for years, but no one believed me that it was going to be a movie. So that's why he wanted to show it to everybody.
I love that he threatened a prison riot because I guess, in the movie, there's the big Attica moment outside. Attica's, riling up the crowd,
right.
Anti-police and, anti-law fervor. But he didn't say that in real life. In real life, there was no John. Sonny in the movie yelled Attica. John did not. But here he is, the real John in prison, threatening a Attica-level riot if they don't show the movie about him.
I know, exactly.
Yeah. It's all about him.
I know. Before I saw the movie, that's the only thing I knew about the movie was that Attica scene.
Oh, yeah. That's the famous scene. Everybody knows. Most people, a lot of people, I bet, don't only know what Attica is and know about the riot because of that scene. Yeah. For me, that was me for a long time. Yeah.
Though John may have some problems with the story, he adored Al Pacino's portrayal of him and calling it, quote, flawless. I'm sure he loved it. It's the guy from The Godfather, that's
exactly.
Crazy. I bet he was floored that him and Sal were portrayed by guys from The Godfather.
Yeah. Dream come true.
To be fair, it's not entirely the screenwriter's fault because that the film wasn't totally accurate. He made several attempts to meet John in prison, but he refused to see him. Like, John didn't want the movie at all, which is kind of weird because he seems like such a narcissist. But at first he was like, no movie. But then he's like, oh, you'll pay me for this, for the gender affirming surgery,
Right.
And
he sold the rights. He loved the attention. He loved the press, but he wouldn't meet with the writer. I don't know what that is. That is so interesting. I mean, I guess he didn't care if it was accurate. And as he said, he thought it was only 30% accurate, although it seems to me a lot higher than that.
I think it's weird that he didn't want a movie in the first place to begin with, which, you think like he would love a movie about him.
Oh, man, who wouldn't?
With John's help or not, the film was a massive success. Grossed upwards of $56 million. That's $327 million today. Nominated for 6 Academy Awards. We get to talk about the movie now. Hooray.
This is our chance. You've been waiting the whole time.
I know.
Dig on in, Jesse.
Al Pacino was nominated as John, which is Sonny in the film. Chris Sarandon, who is the prince from Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, yes.
As Elizabeth Eden, or Leon, who was in the film.
Yeah, he's really good in it. He's so good.
I know. And I watched the documentary and I saw like Elizabeth talk. I'm like, oh, Chris nailed this performance.
Wow. Nice. I gotta see that. I gotta find that.
I was like, yeah. And then Sidney Lumet for Best Director and Best Picture, and the screenwriter Frank Pearson won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay.
Yep,
so I guess they didn't need Oscar. John after all. Yeah.
No, it didn't win for accuracy. It won, although again, I still think it's pretty accurate. It won for quality, but that was the one Oscar they won. Yeah,
I wonder what won that year. Do you know?
So let's see. Okay, yeah. So the movie came out. The robbery was 72. The movie was 75. So it's the 76 Oscars. So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest won that year.
Yes. Another great movie. It was the 70s, so I felt like it was going to be a great movie.
That reminds us, there is a little bit more we want to talk about John and the time, which is, so in 1978, after 5 years in prison, John wins parole, gets released. Not bad for a 14-hour stage hostage situation.
Yeah.
And then in John's cocky fashion, he applies for a guard position at, you guessed it, Chase Manhattan Bank. He apparently walked right in and said, I'm the guy from Dog Day Afternoon, and if I'm guarding your bank, nobody's going to rob the dog's bank, which I feel like it's the opposite. You're like, oh, I want to rob it. I'm going to show him.
I love that he calls himself the dog.
The dog, right? That's what the doc was named too, right?
Right.
So he didn't get the position, shocker. Instead, he found a job as a janitor. But this is what made me think of it. Don't worry, he would sometimes find his way back to the bank, standing in front of the building and signing autographs. And he always wore a T-shirt reading, I robbed this bank. And we have a picture of it. And it's just like, it's amazing. This guy is, there's only one John. This guy is one of a kind,
I know. He really got away in a lot of ways. I just feel bad for Sal. Poor Sal.
Yeah, I know. So that bank is not there anymore either, the one in Gravesend. But
Gotcha.
I don't know if I've ever gone by there exactly, or gone by there and known it, the actual location, to see if there's still a barber across the street. I'm guessing that barber shop closed. They had some, that was a bad day for business.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then more sad stuff. Sadly, in 1987, Elizabeth died of AIDS-related pneumonia. Even though she may have never truly loved John, he always loved her. He delivered a eulogy so moving there wasn't a dry eye in the funeral home. Quote, I loved him. I didn't want him to get his sex change, but I wanted him to be happy. In the end,
he's calling her a him now. Which is
no,
also,
I know he never. Yeah, I feel like he always said Ernie, and
yeah, this is not. He didn't. Yeah. Anyway,
great guy. In the end, it was John's mother, Terry, who took care of him. She was patient and was very forgiving of his eccentricities. She was the only person he seemed to be able to get along with 24/7. They lived together until his death from cancer in 2006. So everybody died.
In the end, as we all do. So yeah. So what he had in 1972, he actually did not have cancer, but in the end, he did die from cancer.
Yeah.
Came back.
His mom was also a character. The documentary is crazy. She's ridiculous.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely have to watch the doc, and I think that our listeners should check out the doc. I mean, I love that we did this. I love that the real story is so fascinating. And again, I think similar to the movie, but there's so many more elements to it that the movie, of course, cannot capture in 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think they just shaped it into a better story in a way. I think they're both really great stories, even though they changed some stuff.
Yep. I mean, I would give the movie 5 stars or 5 popcorn buckets.
I would give it 6 if I could.
6 if you could. I would not give the heist 5 out of 5. I would give the heist 1. I think it's super low. I mean,
that's funny. Yeah. Originally, I was like 5 out of 5. I was like the opposite. Like
for the heist.
I guess no, for the story. I guess for the
story. Yeah. I mean, yes, for the story of the heist. Yes, the actual heist. We've seen heist where they didn't know that much and they got away with it anyway. They got it out. They held on to it for multiple years. They almost sold it. Blah blah blah. Maybe it wasn't a perfect heist, but I mean, they pulled things off. In this one, I mean, maybe it's not fair to dock them for the 3 mishaps before they even got to the right one.
It is fair because they didn't even have one picked out.
Also, if they had one picked out, again, they could have started earlier in the day. They would have gotten more money. Maybe there would have been less hiccups along the way. They could have gotten in and out a lot sooner. They didn't plan the bank. They didn't plan how to get away completely. It was so much fun that seat of your pants. So, I mean, entertaining, yes, but like a terrible, terrible heist. I mean, also, they got like no money. Again, if that's a factor in it, they didn't get hundreds of thousands. There wasn't enough there. They got less than $30,000, right? So this deserves a lower grade.
You convinced me. It's a 1 star. It's a 1 diamond heist.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, the story is fascinating. I love this story, and the heist is so awful.
Yeah, it was a circus.
Yeah.
So Heist Clubbers, what would you give this? Tell us your thoughts. We'd love to hear how many diamonds you would give it. Also, if you've seen the movie or the doc and want to compare that to the real story, anything we left out or missed or just things you want to focus on, tell us those details. Also, I wonder, do you all see John as a hopeless romantic or an unhinged criminal? It's a good question. I mean, kind of somewhere in between, probably closer to unhinged criminal. I mean, although definitely hopeless romantic, but I often think of hopeless romantic as like a positive. In this case, it's like, no, you're
He's
pretty hopeless.
Yeah.
You're literally hopeless. Like
you're
out of it. But was he the Luigi Mangione of his time? I don't know. Do we want to go there? I don't know. Maybe we don't.
No, he wasn't, and no, we don't.
Fighting the system in that way. That's what I mean.
I guess.
Young and maybe attractive and whatever that is.
Yeah.
Anyway, where are we taking this? Anyway.
I don't know. We're just talking about how hot these 2 guys are.
Yeah, let's focus on the Heist Club calendar will be coming out next year with all of our. All of our pinups of our most attractive heisters.
January we'll start with the young Richard Dreyfuss guy from the Vestibular.
Yes, what a crew it is.
Yeah.
So to get that and all of our merch, which is 0 so far, get in touch with us. Tell us what you think. You can follow us and become a full-fledged Heist Club member on Instagram and TikTok. We are at Heist Club Pod. That's at Heist Club POD. And tune in next week. Free Willy meets Ace Ventura Pet Detective meets a lovable shark.
All right. See you guys later.
Heist Club is a production of School of Humans, hosted by me, Todd Weiser.
And me, Jesse Neiswanger. I do all the fancy audio and music editing too.
This episode was researched and produced by Carolyn Talmadge. Our senior producer is Amelia Brock.
Our production manager is Daisy Church. Our executive producers are Virginia Prescott, Brandon Barr, and Elsie Crowley.
Join us again next week for Heist Club, and don't forget to rate and review.